Do you want to do a quick bonus episode?
I mean, sure.
Because
Yeah.
I want your opinion on something. I'm going to share screen.
Okay.
I don't know whether this will be releasable, but we may as well talk about it on air because we can always delete it if not. So, had we talked about this already? The possibility of Gaslands XL?
You've mentioned Gaslands XL in sort of vague, arm-wavy mysteriousness, as is the want of Mike Hutchinson.
Okay,
you haven't told me on any level what it is.
Yeah, so I got the vibe recently. I guess because I was working on Hobgoblin and playing Warhammer and stuff. I got the frankly very occasional strike of inspiration for Gaslands, and I thought, what would happen if you tried to write a Gaslands where games of 200 cans were fun and it was like built for 12 or 15 cars rather than 2 or 3. So I wrote something earlier in the week which was a bizarrely brutal destruction of the existing Gaslands mechanics, which broke almost everything and no perks would have worked anymore and blah 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 blah. And then Rufus came over yesterday and we played the first turn and a half, and I went to put the chickens away. And as I was putting the chickens away, it occurred to me how to solve this problem without breaking the edifice, which is Gaslands. So Gaslands XL provides rules for playing much larger games of Gaslands, dozen or so vehicles. And what happens is, instead of teams, you build convoys, and most of the vehicles in your convoy will be formed into squadrons, which act as a single unit. And then instead of alternating activations, players take turns to move and attack with their entire convoy, and then the next player does. So basically, you've got heroic drivers, which are the normal Gaslands cars, and your convoy may not contain more heroic drivers than squadrons. And squadrons are simply a group of 3 vehicles which can be bought weapons and upgrades, but which can't purchase perks and which have to move as a single unit and be in coherency and stuff. I'll get into that in just a tick. And right now, when purchasing a squadron, the cost of the cheapest chassis is discounted. So you get 3 vehicles for the price of 2, but you have to buy all their flamethrowers.
Mm.
So how do squadrons work? Well, they have whatever the worst handling value is, that's their handling value. They get hazards as a group. They have 1 current gear, so all of the 3 cars are in a particular gear. But damage gets assigned to the individual vehicles individually. And then when you activate a squadron, you pick one of the vehicles to be the lead vehicle, and you basically choose a template, put it down, do the skid dice. The only difference is that when you do the skid dice, hazards and changing gear affect the whole squadron. And if you want to do skids or shifts, you have to assign that skid or shift to one of the individual vehicles in the squadron. Mm-hmm. So if everybody wants to spin, you have to roll 3 spins and assign everyone a spin. And then, having moved the lead vehicle, then each of the subsequent vehicles, you select a different template. You select a template and move them, select a template and move them. And if you've given them one of the skids and slides from the lead vehicle, then so be it. Squadron coherency. After a squadron completes its movement for each vehicle, then a squadron that's not within medium range of another vehicle in the squadron receives 1 hazard token. So you do have to stay within coherency. And the thing that we found during playtesting was, if the touch it, move it, I send your car off sideways triggers, it's a total pain in the behind, because once you're out of coherency in Gaslands, it's extremely difficult to get back into coherency. So we just say that like you choose a template thing doesn't work. Yeah, and then there's this thing about, if you would bump into another car in your squadron, you can take a hazard token to stick a finger's width between the 2 of them and not trigger a collision. That's pretty.
What's the difference? What's the difference between that and both vehicles evading?
They would gain 1 hazard token each, which in the case of a squadron would mean 2 hazard tokens. And then they would be touching, which would mean that they could ignore each other. So it would be worse for them because they take 2 hazard tokens rather than 1, and better for them because they could ignore each other. So it could be that this doesn't need to exist, but
Well, I mean, the main because what I wanted to see in formation driving is a thing where you get rewarded for driving in formation.
Yeah, totally. That I think is
Right.
interesting, and I haven't started to put that in, but yes.
Yeah, rather than a janky replacement for just both evading, which is what everybody's going to do anyway. I mean, the point, not that everyone's going to do that anyway, is there's a rule for resolving that in Gaslands. Why not just use a pre-existing rule rather than this? Move it back a finger width gap. I mean, a finger width gap is already annoying, isn't it?
Well, it's the same rule that's in the
No, I'm aware, and it's a rule that everybody looks at me weird when I tell them about it. And you should see how thick my dad's fingers are. After sort of
anyway,
40 years,
don't
40 years of
don't upset.
No.
This is minor and the most.
No. It's not that. It's the when as soon as you said this, I wanted to see because ages ago we talked about doing formation driving in Gaslands, and I've always wanted to see it. And as soon as you said this, I was like, I want to see formation driving. And then I saw the words formation driving, and then I read what it was, and I was horribly disappointed.
Yeah, no,
it's less that I don't like that rule. It's more that why isn't it the rule that I want? That when you said it, I went, oh, there's going to be formation driving in this. Otherwise, I'm going to burn it to the ground. And if it wasn't that, it was
so we were indeed messing about with that. I'll just see if these photos arrive. So get out of the way, zoom. Where are they? Oh, well, don't cancel. Send them.
Is it got a campaign system at all, or
not yet?
Because it's super wants a campaign system, I think, as well. I mean, I want to see convoys rolling down the freeway from place to place. I still want us to do
what happens if you set up stuff like this, or if you set up stuff like this. Like that requires a slide, a spin, and a shift if you want to get into the next gear.
Yeah, I mean, you just sent. Oh no, that's not you. That's somebody else.
That's because I was sharing the wrong.
This. Where have we gone? Okay. Yeah.
The only other changes. So Game of Gaslands XL is divided into rounds and gear phases. Normally, the only change to the turn structure is that in each gear phase, player with pole position must activate all their qualifying units. A unit is either a squadron or a heroic vehicle, and then play passes to the player on the left who must activate all their qualifying units, and so on. So in the game that we had after we reset for these rules, the fact that I had like 2 squadrons and 2 heroic drivers, it meant in the time that it took me to activate 4 vehicles, I had activated 12 vehicles. And the fact that I didn't have to pass play backwards and forwards between those activations, like activating all of my Gaslands cars was lightning fast. So getting through my entire gear phase 1, for example, was lightning fast.
What about them being in squadrons makes it quicker to activate them? Or what's the point of them being in squadrons?
Things. One is, so the couple of things that slow vehicles down. One is making decisions about their individual state, and there's a lot of shared state in a squadron. Number 2 is the decision making around the skid roll, and you only have to make 1 skid roll per 3 cars. And number 3 is passing activation backwards and forwards between players is a massive time sink.
Yeah, I mean, I agree the passing activations back and forth. I worry that being forced to stay in formation feels random,
incoherent,
and coherency feels both random, not particularly true to the world. I mean, what do the wild boys from Mad Max care about staying in coherency? Inherently,
they like supporting each other.
Yeah, but I just in a not in a formalized fashion, not in a way that they get punished if one car goes across to another group or out of. Do you know what I mean? I worry that if it's that if the purpose of the game is to speed up playing with lots of Gaslands cars, and I'm worried about the fact that should I risk getting a slide that will put me out of coherency and I'll never get back into it. I'm not sure what the coherency rewards me with. What's the upside to being to forcing things to be in coherency? I'm not clear on what the win is.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean. Like the upside is there's not an emergent tactical upside. It's not like I choose to be in coherency because by being in coherency I get like hands across
No, I mean
bonuses to attack. The advantage is that it is cognitively extremely simple to see a cluster of vehicles and say, aha, cluster is going to activate together. If I was to spread those three vehicles across the table, it would be utterly impenetrable to figure out what the game state that I needed to change was.
I understand that. My point is, if we make formation driving interesting and have rewards, then you'll want to keep squadrons together, but you won't have the cognitive load of going, oh shit, I just slid somebody during a formation move. I can't afford to slide people. I'm now out of coherency and I'm never going to get back into it. I worry that if losing coherency is as bad as it might be, and you're forced to take slides, as you sometimes are in
But it's not that bad.
and
Like, ordinarily, unless you really, really mess up, it's one extra hazard token because one vehicle gets out of coherency with the other two. So it's a bit like taking a slide and going, I naffed it up. Oh, okay, I take an extra hazard, but as long as I'm a little bit conservative next turn, then I can definitely get everyone back in. And because the squadron wipes out as a squadron, so the only thing is that they take flip checks individually, which might need to get play tested out.
The whole squadron wipes out when the squadron gets a token. The six has a token.
Yeah, squadron tokens are hazard tokens placed on the squadron as a whole, not individual vehicles within the squadron.
Jesus, do you not wipe out a lot in higher gears?
I don't know yet. Probably.
I mean, when you get to the point where the majority of the templates have hazards on them, I would imagine that you wipe out really quickly. Because I mean, obviously, if you've got three vehicles,
I think once you're in 5 or 6, you're stuffed as a squadron.
I mean, given that there are going to be very few instances where at least one vehicle has to. If you want to turn a squadron in 4th gear, you're in something of a world of pain, aren't you?
Yes.
Only
probably true. Yeah, that's probably true.
I would imagine it would make driving in 4th gear above almost untenable.
I mean, it might be as simple as squadrons wipe out with more hazard tokens than 6, or it might be that there's something else that needs to get fixed here. But like, I'm definitely clear that a squadron manages its state as a group. I just think that the damage doesn't feel right when you do it that way.
Yeah, it wouldn't do.
But for some reason, during those games that I have played, managing hazard tokens and current gear feels okay because it's like that whole unit is essentially suffering morale and orders as a group.
I get it. Just a squadron wiping out 6 hazards sounds a bit mad.
I think that might be the fix, actually. Yeah.
But the difficult thing, well, I assume all the perks are going to get rewritten, right?
Well, that is the problem. That basically, hang on a sec. So the first version of this, in fact, I will show you the first version. Gaslands XL. So the first version of this, I said to myself, let's completely change the structure of the turn. So it's divided into rounds, and each round it has a boost phase where if you are max gear 6, you get to activate by taking a hazard, and you count as being in gear 5. And the carnage phase where everybody gets to activate and counts as being in gear 3. But that is like, that's interesting and fine and everything, but it totally breaks all of the perks and everything. And so what I was trying to do with this was say, okay, can I get to the point where the functional turn doesn't change? So all of the perks and weapons basically work correctly. But then by simply saying that squadrons cannot take perks because it speeds them up not to take perks, but also it means that the newly Gestalt hazard token economy stuff doesn't get intercepted with perks. But if you can select sponsors, then there is still some work to do there.
Yeah. And I mean,
I genuinely just haven't done that work. I haven't bothered doing that work.
Yeah, I mean, because you'll need to rewrite the vehicles. You can't have a performance car, right? I mean, a squadron can't have a performance car because they'll all bump each other and multi-activate. I mean, is it?
Maybe we'll have to war game that one through. I don't know.
I mean, what do you play it as like a versus war game and try to kill each other?
Well, I haven't written the scenarios yet. I have one scenario at the moment, which is grab your junk, which is basically an objective grab.
Is there not? I mean, my first worry is that there's a significant advantage to a combat orientated army as opposed to a racing orientated one.
Yeah, no, right? There definitely is, and I'm not going to worry about that.
Okay, it's that.
Well, not... unless during playtesting it turns out that actually, place 5 flags along the center line of the table and you can carry flags off the back line or something, means that Miyazaki can just take the flags and.
Yeah, I mean it. Because I mean, Gaslands is centrally about. I know it's not only the race game, but it's centrally about the race game. It's about the.
Yeah, but this is not about the race game. This is
no. I understand. I understand that.
Rumbling towards.
I get that. I understand that. I'm worried about where that remains interesting, and where it isn't just somebody with rockets rolling up and blattering somebody else.
So I tell you why I want to write this. So I want to write this because during lockdown, a lot of people have made cars. And what I want to say is, as we emerge from COVID, here is a game mode that allows you to crack open a couple of cold beers and put all of those cars that you've converted and painted on the table, and give you an acceptable way to play with 12 to 15 Gaslands vehicles in one amazing sort of, war dust cloud. And I get that. I think that's got lots of fun in it, and I don't think.
Yes,
I think there's definitely juice to be wrung from that.
I agree with that. I don't know that the way to do it is fundamentally something to do with facing 2 people off over a table and running them at each other. What do you
mean? Where's the thing that you're imagining instead?
Because the thing that I'm imagining, literally, Mad Max 2, Fury Road or whatever has an enormous amount, huge numbers of vehicles in them, right? They're not facing each other across a a
No.
line and
They're all
run each
traveling in
other.
the same direction. Yeah.
Yes. And if I'm thinking of a convoy of vehicles rolling along through the blasted Radlands, I'm never thinking of them seeing another convoy of vehicles coming in the other direction and lining up towards each other on across the
Well, except
the
in Mad Max
waste.
2, where there's that refinery that everyone's defending, and they're all sitting waiting in the refinery, and people come down over the hill. So apart from that iconic scene, but
But they're not both on.
what I haven't done yet is find out whether something like express delivery just works for this, because we've had a couple of previous attempts at writing the convoy scenario. But
Yeah,
I
because
do agree. Like, it would be awesome.
what
The way that this worked was there's 24 cars on the table and they're all pointed in the same direction.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want 24 cars all lined up on a massive grid, all pointing in the same direction, and rolling along side by. If I want Gaslands XL, I want it to be Gaslands XL, and Gaslands is fundamentally about racing the guy next to you and shooting him as you go. I understand that there's Arena of Death, and I understand that Arena of Death is popular and it's splendid in many ways, but it's not the heart of what Gaslands is. And if I got Gaslands XL, I would want to run two convoys next to each other, racing across a racetrack of bow-shaking proportions. I want to see two convoys racing from LA to San Diego. That's what I want from Gaslands XL. I don't want to have a tabletop battle game that, and even if we get this singing that is being janky to make a thing work, right? I want Gaslands doing what Gaslands does best. I want it showing its absolute, heart and showing off. I don't want it doing a decent job of something that I'm not sure is super necessary. I want it doing
I totally understand. I totally
amazing
understand
job.
what you're going for, but the problem is that rolling roads are janky.
I agree.
And the thing that it naturally wants to do cannot function as well as a 6x4 with 12 cars, 24 cars screaming towards each other. I think that there's ways of making that battlefield more dynamic so that people are chasing a rabbit in a more interesting way. But I think that ultimately the problem is that you can't replicate Fury Road without serious jank. Like, we've tried it 3 times now and it's janky.
No, I agree. Rolling roads are perpetually an issue, and we found ways of getting around them, but none of them I would like to attempt with 24 cars. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I still want the thing to be, I'm still going to advocate for the thing that would be the best version of the thing and the thing that I would most want to see of the thing. Look, I'm not saying that lining up 24 cars and then running them at each other and blowing, everyone into twisted metal isn't fun and isn't amusing and wouldn't sort of sustain a certain amount of playtime. It's not particularly something that, if I heard you had done, I would sort of. I've got 24 cars. I've modeled that many cars many times over. If I'm modeling that many cars, it's because I enjoy modeling them, and Gaslands is a passing excuse to do it because it's fun. And if I heard that I could put all 24 on the table at the once, I think I would probably say I can do that, I mean, Gaslands doesn't say you're limited to 50.
That's a tedious experience with Gaslands. That is a very slow moving.
Yeah, but I can still do it. I'm free to do it.
You wouldn't have a good time doing it. That's all I'm trying to do is make it so that you are rewarded. You are not punished for getting a lot of on the table.
I understand that, you know, I I get it, and I'm not having a go at what you're trying to do here. I don't have an issue with it. I think that if it's like a one-page supplement that says form things up into clumps, take turns instead of alternate activations, then you can get a whole bunch of cards on the table. It's not a pain in the ass. By the way, play Arena of Death. Fine with that. I think if Gaslands XL is to be a big, chunky, show off of a full supplement, I would want it to do more than just essentially letting you play big Arena of Death. I mean, look,
Why?
I'm not saying
that's the design goal.
Because it, but
not Arena
right,
of Death. Not Arena of Death, like big flag tag or big capture the flag.
Sure. Look, you know full well that if something is what you want to do, it's what I'll do, and we'll work through it. What I'm saying is that personally, I think that there's something shinier.
Yeah, and literally, like I'm only 6 days into the design, so I've 100% confidence that you are correct, and I have no idea what that is, but I am definitely going to continue to playtest this because it's really fun to put 12 Gaslands cards on the table and be like, holy crap, that didn't take any time at all. Like, this is significantly faster than a game of Gaslands, and it has like 3 times as many cards.
Look, yeah, no, that's a cool thing, and it's a fun thing, and it's a good thing to have.
It could be called Gaslands, like, what's the word? What was the word for something that takes half as long? It's like Gaslands Light.
Sure. I mean, this is the thing. Look, I mean, if you play Gaslands with turns, Gaslands would probably take half the time.
Yeah. I mean, like that's essentially it. It's like, I love the alternating activations thing, but what I have come to realize is that the overhead of passing play is enormous, like much, much bigger than you can ever give it rational.
Oh, no, yeah. Absolutely. And then you add on to the fact that in Gaslands you can activate any vehicle.
So there's a genuine and interesting decision, which is in what sequence should I order things? Should I activate things, which adds in, but also overhead.
And then when you toss in the fact that the turn order changes with pole position, and you can use votes to move pole position. Yeah, no, look, I'm not. I'm not saying that
This is basically I go, you Gaslands.
Yeah, I go, you go, Gaslands.
I go, you Gaslands.
Look, all I'm saying is that I accept that there's
give it some thought, and if you can come at me with a bowl of ramen that you think I should cook up, please do, because I don't know what that ramen looks like right now, other than both you and Rufus both sort of said the same thing, which is, it's called a convoy. I want to drive along a very long road shooting sideways.
Look, the first and most obvious thing I'm going to say is, if this is something for like people who have been in lockdown and painted X many cars, and it's something for you to play at home, and there's no suggestion that it's going to be some sort of tournament thing, is why are we limiting ourselves to like 6x4 tables? People own floors, right? Why are we, I've got a floor big enough to put a full convoy down. I don't have I'm not.
I don't know why that's exciting. That's just irritating. I hate being on the floor.
Why? What? Well, you've got bad knees or something?
Yeah, I hate sitting on the floor. I'm not a toddler.
I
hear what you're saying, and that inspires nothing in me. Like, that is not an interesting game.
Really? I mean,
like, I can play on the floor. I'm not going to play on the floor.
Okay, I mean, we're very different people. Look,
someone's going to stand on my terrain or kick my cars. Like, my knees.
I don't understand the idea that you're not inspired by a massive racetrack. like a honkingly huge racetrack that goes
because a
across
massive racetrack is it just sounds to me totally tedious. That sounds like loads of cars that are miles away from each other, or loads of cars that are in one particular area of an otherwise enormous place where nothing is happening on 99% of the volume. Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
just that sounds.
but that's because rolling
totally...
roads are a pain in the hole.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's because rolling roads are a pain in the hole, and so you can do you don't need to have a rolling road. The only reason you need a rolling road is because the tables are too small. Yeah. And if the reason that you need rolling roads is that tables are too small and the rolling roads are janky, get a big table. And the sort of big table that everyone owns is a floor. I mean, I don't see how that isn't an engineering solution.
Look, I mean, the basic rule is if I wouldn't play it, I'm not going to write it, and I'm not going to play that.
I mean, look, fair enough. You know, I'm going to suggest things that I would play, and the fact that you then say, "Well, I wouldn't," is a perfectly acceptable objection.
Where am I going to play that? That it's going to be fun.
I'm not saying that that's an unacceptable objection. I'm, you know, and if you want to say yes, maybe Glenn would play that, Mike wouldn't, and that's the reason it's not going to happen. That's fine. Just say that. I'm just saying my immediate reaction is stick it on the floor and let's race from like I say, I want to race from LA to San Diego. I don't want to have to. You know what it makes me think.
But you've scaled it differently to me. You're saying I want to race from Los Angeles to San Diego. I'm saying I want to play with 15 cars. Those are totally different things. Like we could play Gaslands with 2 cars and race from a really long distance. That would be.
Yeah, I know. I still want to race from San Diego to LA with 2 cars.
Yeah. That would actually
primarily.
Now I want to be like every different building that you play in, you have to play a different racetrack. So like we have to go to the coffee shop to connect the next 2 towns together, and then we have to go to your house, then we have to go to my house, then we have to play at the school down the road, like then we have to go in the car park.
Yeah, you're saying that like I'm going to have a problem with it, and I definitely
no. Now I'm excited about the idea, but the idea is still is 2 cars. Like that would be more fun with 2 cars.
I mean, look, sure. The thing is, primarily what this makes me think of is, I think it's Smokey and the Bandit 3, where they have like a whole load of trucks running into a whole load of police cars. And I'm just not sure. I personally don't find. And this is like different. Different people finding different things inspiring. I don't find the idea of lining up 24 cars and running them into each other particularly inspiring. The idea of playing Gaslands that takes, a fraction of the time, jolly. I'm not knocking that. The idea of playing Gaslands, jolly. I'm not sure like this is planned a whole bunch of cars. And I'm not sure that I'm excited about running 24 cars into 24 cars. I'm not excited by 24 cars in and of themselves. You talk about being a toddler. The number 24 isn't the biggest number I can think of. It's not going to get me out of bed in the morning. Ooh, 12. Ooh, that's a big number. 12 of the things. I'm not more excited by 12 cars than I am by 3 cars, honestly. I want something else to be exciting about it other than the fact that there are 12 cars on the table.
So I'm just trying to find the photographs that I'm looking for. So that's the sort of there's a few more from James similar, but that's the sort of image that I'm working off.
Do your games look like that when you play them? Do they? I mean, is that the actual effect you get? Because I assume you don't. I assume you get a wide, thin line of cars running at each other.
You do, yeah.
And if what you're shooting for is that visual, then I would suggest designing something that gives that visual rather than something
Well,
that
yeah, I mean, it's not about the verticality of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm defending yet, I think is the honest truth. But what I do know is that 12 cars is difficult in the existing Gaslands rules, and you'd need to tweak something to make it work. And so far, like dashing into the center of the table to grab some flags and then piss off with them whilst other people are shooting you up your tailpipe as you tear off, like that is acceptably fun, at least on first playtest. That feels like there's a lot of carnage happening across the width of the table, and like it's not fundamentally different. It's not fundamentally different to a big army game, and it's not fundamentally different from Gaslands. It's just combining those two joys.
Yeah. Sorry, it's Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Oh
The
yeah.
world's biggest game of chicken. On YouTube is what it's called. I mean, the clip on YouTube is world's biggest game of chicken. If you've never, the top clip there. Have you ever seen Smoking the Bandit?
Yeah, I've seen them all a lot. I just don't remember the specific scene.
This scene is what I assume the game actually is. And look, it's like I say, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's like I say, the first thing I want Gaslands XL to be is Gaslands XL. You know what I mean?
I don't know what that means. It is.
Well, you know Gaslands. I mean,
yeah. The game where you drive cars around, yeah.
Yeah, the game where you race cars.
Sometimes race them. You sometimes chase dinosaurs.
Do you?
I mean, to be honest with you, like
sometimes
I haven't played the race scenario for 2.5 years. I have played every other scenario in the book.
Yeah, but is your experience the normal experience, or? I mean, when we released
I'm not suggesting mine is the normal or the others. What I'm suggesting is there are 12 scenarios in the book. All of them are fun. And not all of them are the race scenario. And I'm not making Gaslands Mega Race.
No, I understand that.
Originally the first version of this was just called like Gaslands Wheeled Warriors.
I get that, but
you're making of it, but less good.
You're making Gaslands with no racing. I'm not saying that the problem is that you're making Gaslands that isn't only racing. I'm saying the problem is you're making Gaslands that has no racing. I'm saying that I don't
understand how getting to an objective faster than the other guy and then getting away before they can blow you up isn't an equivalent of racing.
Do you not understand that?
Yeah, like it's basically the same.
And when you the word basically there is an interesting, you
have to get to a place and you have to get away from the other guys. That's the same.
It's not the same though, is it? You know it's not the same. I know you know it's not the same. Okay.
It's basically the same.
But the fact that you have to use the word basically is how I know that you know it's not the same.
Yeah, no, I guess look, I don't see a world where 24 cars racing around a racetrack is interesting. I'm not going to write that game. That seems utterly tedious to me. Yeah. And I think that saying Gaslands is only about the racetrack is also totally wrong.
No, I'm not saying it's only about the racetrack. I'm saying it's partly about the racetrack. I'm saying that there is something about the heart of Gaslands that has something to do with racing. And I'm not saying it's all that it is.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's the thing that when you first see Gaslands, when you first come across Gaslands, it's the way it says hello to you, you know? And I think that something that says the way I first introduced myself to you, the way that I, the first impression that I had is gone. I'm something else now. I'm not saying that there's a one way it has to be, and this is how it is, and I'm right and all other people are wrong. And I'm not saying that if this is the only way it works, it's a bad thing to do, because it sounds like a good thing to do either way. All I'm saying is that a version of a game mode of Gaslands that will not allow you to race somebody, just will not allow you to actually race them. It feels like it's lacking something. And I'm not saying it's something vital and important and it can't fly without it. And I'm not saying that it's the be all and the end all. I'm saying that there's going to be somebody who's going to go, cool, where's the version where I'm racing my convoy next to his convoy and we're both trying to get to the same place and we're shooting each other as we go. That's a Gaslands thing I like. And you talked before about the point where somebody asks whether they can do something, you say, no, sorry, you can't. And I'm saying, I think it is more likely that somebody will say, okay, so I'm going to race my convoy next to his convoy, and it's going to be like Fury Road, and we're all going the same direction, and it's going to be like Gaslands, but massive. And you're going to say, no, sorry, it doesn't do that. It's like
Gaslands. No, sure, but I'm not saying it isn't going to do that, because obviously doing the Fury Road thing is absolutely the thing that it needs to do. I think we're just talking across purposes, which is I'm equating racing with something that you're not equating racing with, and we're meaning two different things by that. I want two things going in the same direction, whether that's in a donut or otherwise.
Yeah, I want everybody starting from the same point and going to the same point somewhere. That is to me a thing that has to be one of the core offerings of Gaslands. And I'm not saying it has to be the only thing, but at some point, two things have to be trying to get from the same A to the same B, and experiencing each other along the way.
I mean, I sort of conceptualize this as probably having three scenarios. So one of them would be get in, get out. One would be there's a circle that's shrinking and you get crushed into the middle of it. And the other is you're all heading in a rolling road or something. You're all heading in the same direction. And those, I think, are the three obvious scenarios.
Fair enough. You're not saying that 15 cars are fun. You're saying that people have got 15 cars, let's make them fun.
Exactly.
That is a different statement.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And that's fine. I hold issue with the idea that 15 cars are inherently fun. Yes,
they are not inherently fun, but what I want to do is make them fun. That's exactly right. Yeah. As a sort of reward for having labored on 15 cars, and because you know what is fun is hobby projects. And if you've got I am already excited about taking the almost looks like a coherent set of a dozen cars and going, actually, I'm going to modify these a little bit so I can that's the heroic car and these are the 3 squadrons and they now have numbers that all link them together, or they have icons that link them together. So what I do know is that hobby projects are fun, and that I think that I'm already excited about the possibility that unpacks. And so I know that some people will respond to that.
I think to Chris, I think I understand what my point of objection here is. One of the things I love about Gaslands is that from the get-go, everybody's interlaced with everybody else. There is no moving towards each other bullshit turn one.
Yeah.
Okay. I am next to you on turn one. I am in your face on turn one. I'm interacting with you as another person on turn one. Plus, because we all start at point A, the entire tabletop is an interesting environment. Okay. If I line up opposite you, A, we are not interacting on turn one, and B, the middle of the tabletop is an interesting environment. The rest of the tabletop is bullshit we go through to get to the middle of the tabletop.
I think both of those are very, very good points.
And I think I'm voicing this in relation to the idea of racing, because that's the idea that crystallizes the thing. My point is, I want to be next to you at the start of the game, and I want to run alongside you, fucking with you across the whole of the tabletop, and fucking with you all the way across the tabletop until I get to whatever the end point of my experience of fucking with you is, and then the game to end. I do not want to start in a non-fucking with you position, go through some bullshit, and then start fucking with you, and then go, oh shit, I've just driven past you. Let's all crank, get it round, get it round, get it round, get it round. Okay, now I can start having fun again.
Yeah, because the same table that I've laid out, which is a 6x4 with 5 objectives across the middle, if instead of playing across the table like you would, if everyone just starts on one end, and then you have to pick up the objectives as you go down the table, and as you escape with the objectives off the other end of the table, you get mega victory points or whatever. Now we all have to smash into the same things, or if there's zigzagged objectives or something, but now I have to take you down, or I have to swerve off. And
that's I think the heart of my point. In Gaslands, I'm next to you from the get-go. I'm next to you the whole way round. I'm interacting with you the whole way round, and I'm interacting with you until the game until the end of the game. There is no turn one bullshit. There is no, and the thing is, to be fair to like whatever Warhammer, there's a turn one bullshit, but once everybody meets in the middle, they're into each other's faces for the whole thing. With Gaslands, once you've gone, you can't break, and so once you go past each other, isn't there a crappy turn? Yeah, surely it's like a joust, and everyone goes past each other and goes, oh, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring. Oh, this is fun again. Oh, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring. Oh, that's fun again. Oh, this is let's not do that. Let's have everybody next to each other going, oh, fun, 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 fun.
Yeah, I think that solves it. I think just pivoting the table 90 degrees, putting everyone at the same start line. And then what I'll try, because I'm not certain how, like, I'm not certain I want to determine the table size, because it's a very un-Gaslandsy things to do. But some configuration of objectives that you have to grab and run, essentially.
Yeah, it feels, everyone sets up somehow next to each other. Objective one is like in front of a randomly chosen car a certain distance away. We go until someone picks up objective one, and objective two is in front of another randomly chosen car a certain distance away. Repeat until 5 objectives are picked up, and then first person off set table edge gets 0.6, and whoever's got them, I mean, don't do that, because that lets people draw 0.7, and whoever gets the most of those, that odd number of points, wins the game. That is, I don't know, that's more of a Gaslandsy thing. I'm sorry that I sort of voiced it as the race is the thing. The thing is, everybody is next to each other, and
heading in the same direction
all the way round,
jostling rather than jousting.
I don't, like I said, I don't want to line up opposite somebody and the point of interaction be a single point and then be lost again. I think I've gotten across the point of why it felt wrong to me.
That's cool, and I actually think the fix feels relatively simple.
Yeah.
I think the shrinking circle is sort of the same idea of that, which is anyway. So I think with those things in mind, I think that's there's plenty to think about. Okay, cool. Let's go to bed because it's much too late.